Hello everyone, I'm back with another video, and in today's video we have a Dell laptop. This is a Dell G15 model 5511, and in this video I'm gonna go over how you can open it up and how you can clean, repaste, and decrease the temperatures on your CPU and GPU. If yours is running a little warm, hot, like 80-90 Celsius, you can just repaste and clean the fan system, and it's gonna cool down and it's gonna make your games run better, more FPS, and longer time it's gonna last. Just remember, by repasting, servicing your laptop, you're not gonna change anything, configuration in the Windows or anything like that. It's just everything's gonna be the same way that you left it, so there's no problem in there. The tool that I'll be using here, number one, is an UFIXTEK screwdriver set. These are one of the best screwdrivers out there. And if you get the Pro set, they will include you with an opening tools and some tweezers. If not, just get the basic set. For the opening tool, I'll be using a guitar pick. And metallic guitar picks are really suitable to opening cases and covers. Next, you will need a spatula. Plastic or wooden spatula is a good to have. Used or new toothbrush. Alcohol. It's very important to have a 95% or 99% isopropylic or isopropylic alcohol. And another important one, it's a workshop towel. One sheet of the workshop towel, and the reason I always said use the workshop towel, it's because as soon as you spray alcohol on top and you clean the motherboard, the alcohol will make the workshop towel tear apart easily, so it will not tangle on the components and damage the components. That's why I always say use this one and don't use microfiber, because microfiber can tangle between the components and it can rip the components. So use this one. A good thermal paste. You can use an Arctic MX4 or MX6, but if you want to go overboard and use one of the best thermal paste, you can go with Thermal Grizzly Quarnot. These are one of the best thermal pastes out there. Again, I'll leave the link in the video description if you want to use it. All depends to you. In this case, my client wants to use an Arctic MX4 because it's budget friendly. And based on that, we're going to get it started. All right, we're going to use Phillips number 0. And we're gonna make sure your laptop is powered off. Flip it upside down. In here, we're gonna see a whole bunch of screws. Not all the screws are gonna come out. Some of them, they have a little seal-off. I'll explain that in a second. So first, we're gonna remove the screws that we know that is gonna come out, which are the two back corners, the ones in the back corner right here. So we're gonna remove these ones and the two mid front end of the laptop. All these 4 screws are the same size and height, so don't worry about mismatching them. Also, if you guys like my videos, if you find my videos helpful and helping you guys out, you can support the channel by clicking that like and subscribe. I'll greatly appreciate it. It helps and motivates me to make more videos, take requests, and answer your questions in the comment area. Alright, once we remove the screws, and we can see all the screws are the same size, now we're going to go over this screw. The C-lock is a little bracket on the other side of the screw that will prevent the screw coming out entirely. But also it helps you to separate the bottom cover from the palm rest. So as soon as I start rotating this, you're gonna see the palm rest start separating itself. There we have it. So we're gonna stop as soon as you hear that tiny click sounds. Do a few more rotations. And you wanna do the same thing on the other side. All right. Once we got this one going, now your cover might not open all the way in, so you want to find a way to stick the guitar pick in there, and you want to just twist it like this. You want to hear those big click sounds. That's what you want to hear. You want to unhook it from there, and then make sure, it's very important that you grab it from the front end corners, wiggle it around, and it's going to release some clips in the side. Bring it up in 45 and pull it backward in 45-degree angle, so you can release these tiny hooks that goes under the back cover. So that's important. All right. And right away, we can see the battery. So first, we're going to disconnect the battery by pulling up this jack backward. So lift up this cable with a little adhesive and slide it towards the front end of the laptop, and you can disconnect it right away. And we're going to remove the battery so we can work freely with these flex cables right in there. We're going to remove 1, 2, 3, 4 chrome screws that touches the battery. Go ahead and remove these 4 chrome screws. Now we're going to lift up the battery in 45 and slide it toward the back. Now we can have a nice access to this flex cable. We're gonna remove the SSD storage in here. If you have two storage, remove both of the storage by removing one screw on top. And there's one more in here by this copper plate. Lift up the copper plate. And you wanna lift up a little bit and pull it back, slide it back. All right, we're gonna disconnect the audio cable here. If I pull up the jack backward, I'll put my fingers on the side of the jack so I don't pull the cables, and leave it on one side. We're gonna disconnect the Wi-Fi in here by removing one screw, putting it in here, slide the cable back, and slide the Wi-Fi board back. We can unhook it, just pulling it. Don't yank it like this. Pull the cable upward. Doesn't matter which cable where it goes, they're just antennas, so you can switch the places. There's no problem in there. One is for the Bluetooth, one is for the Wi-Fi. All right, now that we remove those, we're gonna remove the back grill cover. So remove the two screws. These are flat-headed screws. Now we're gonna remove two screws at the back in here. What we want to do, we want to slide this cover backward. So bring it up. Lift it up a little bit. And you want to push it towards the back. Once you get one side, the other side, just going to slide out pretty easy. So if it's the first time, it's going to cost a little more force, but it will come. Make sure you just lift it up enough. Let's put that to back side, to there. You're going to remove this cable back. We're going to remove this power jack connector. Put your fingers on the side of the jack. Straight, pull it back. Lift up this gaffer stake. We can remove this one so it doesn't bother you. So remove two screws on the jack. Okay, put that one in there. Remove this one. There's a metal bracket to hold it in place, so it's easier to work. All right. We're gonna remove the fan cable, disconnect them by pulling the jack. There's a black color jack, pull them back. Same thing in here. Remove the screw on the fan. These fans do not come out. They're attached to the heatsink, so remove that screw. Remove the screw on this side. You can use a little tweezers to help you lift up these screws. It's kind of weird. I think this screw has a little C-lock on it, but I doubt it. But let me see. No, there's no C-lock. So one fan has a flat screw and one doesn't. That's interesting. All right. Now, you're gonna disconnect the cable for the flex LCD. Lift up this plastic, and you wanna use your finger and lift up this hinge, bring it over, and then you wanna pull it towards slide it towards the back, and that's how you can disconnect the flex cable. All right. So now we're gonna disconnect the flex cables in the front, the keyboard. On the back here, lift up 90 degrees this cover, and slide back. In here, lift up from the front end 90 degree, and pull up these flex cables, backlight, and everything like that. All right. So let's start from one corner and remove the screws in here. So I'm going to remove this screw on this board, right there. Come down here, remove the screw right by the M.2. Remove right on the other side by this M.2 SSD. You're going to go right through here by the fan, remove that one right there. You're going to go to the back corner. We're going to remove this screw and the screw right beside it. This is for this shield in here. All right. And we're going to remove this screw right over here. All right. So we're going to test the board. Oh, there's another flex cable right in here. Remove this flex cable right there. So there's a screw on the other side of this one here. So lift it up from here. Make sure it's coming out nicely. is all loose, you grab it from the middle, from the sides, and lift up the motherboard, and we can flip it over. And there we have it. So I'm going to put a workshop towel right in the middle here so I can flip it upside down and work on this side. And there we go. Actually, let me just remove this whole thing. It's much easier like this. Now we can nicely work on this part here. So first we're going to remove, these are actually M.2 connector PCI Express. You have two PCI Express for this extra ports in here. That's very interesting. So we need to remove these two PCI Express. Otherwise, when we lift up the heatsink, it's going to be underneath here. So you don't want to damage it. So remove these two. And it comes out and it's slide it out. Very, very interesting. All right, remove this other one. Then it comes up in 45, just pull it out. And there we go. All right, to remove the heatsink, we're going to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. We're going to loosen up. Pretty much remove 6 screws. Once you remove this one, now we can just go ahead and lift it up from the middle. From here, we got the thermal paste. It is stuck. There we go. Bring it up and flip it upside down. And there we have it. There is the CPU, the GPU, and the PCS chip. Sometimes the PCS chips comes along beside the CPU. All right, we're going to start cleaning the thermal paste. So grab a little bit of the workshop towel, soak it in an alcohol, and wipe over the CPU die. All right, nice clean. This is what I'm talking about. Use the workshop towel. You see these tiny components, capacitors on top? That's why you use enough alcohol, and when you wipe it, it rips apart the towel, but it does not damage the components around the CPU crystal die. You just drop it down. As long as you clean up the crystal on the GPU or CPU, you find you don't need to go crazy around it, but I'm doing it for heck of it. All right, now that it's cleaned up, we're going to clean up the heatsink. Same thing, I'm going to just flip it inside out. I'm going to remove the same towel, the excess of the thermal paste. There we have it. Don't worry if you smudge the thermal paste over the pads, nothing is going to happen. But if you want to replace the pads, I'm going to go over the size of the pads. These are 0.5 millimeter, 0.5 millimeters, 0.5 millimeters. These are 1 millimeter on the side. This is a 1 millimeter, and the bottom in here is a 0.5 millimeters, and this is a 0.5 millimeters thermal pads. But you don't need to. They don't really get hot. They're not overclocked or anything like that. Leave them the way it is. Just remove the thermal paste, and you'll be fine. All right, you're going to apply one line on the CPU crystal die right there, and one drop right on the GPU die. Nice amount. Okay? You don't want to put anything over the PCH chip because there's a thermal pad. Now, let's say if you want to clean up your fan, take it outside with a toothbrush, you can just clean it up. But if you want to remove it, clean it up really nicely, remove these tiny screws, 1, 2, 3, 4 screws you can remove on here, and the fan will come out entirely, completely, and you can just wipe it really nicely. Same thing in here. You can remove 1, 2, 3, 4 these tiny screws, and the fan will drop down from this side. Okay? Just have to remove this tiny tape right on the sides, right in here. Okay? These are called gaffer's tapes. You can purchase and put your own gaffer's tape. Just make sure the gaffer's tape doesn't cover the ventilation in here. Okay? Just doesn't cover it. So I don't like this one too because it's not covering, it's just passing the air through, right? So this is perfect. So make sure you don't cover the ventilation. All right. Once you put the new thermal pads and thermal paste on top, make sure goes right underneath. The cables goes underneath. Align it. Make sure the screw holes are aligned. Bring it down. Do not lift it up again once you aligned it. It's very important, otherwise you have to repaste. Make sure always use a good quality thermal paste. So always cross screw them. I always like doing the mid one here, and then I'm gonna do the corners. So that way the thermal paste is gonna spread evenly over the CPU and the GPU. All right, now that we got that one in, we're gonna slide in the PCI Express cards in on the side. And put the screws on the card. All right, now that we got all this set, we're gonna flip it upside down. And right away, first we're gonna connect the fan cables. So make sure the fan cables slide into the connector. The left one and the right one. Usually people forget those. All right, now that we have that one in there, we're gonna go for the whole chassis. There we have the chassis. If yours is dirty, go ahead and clean it up. We're gonna grab the motherboard. We are gonna set it down straight from the back side. Make sure it sits down in there. Straight down, bring it down. And once it's in place, you see this audio connector didn't go in well. So I'm gonna lift it up again. Okay. I'm gonna put the audio jack side down first, and then I'm gonna bring it down. All these cables, they have to go right through here. Nicely. Pull back the cables right underneath the motherboard here for the LCD, flex cables, everything. Sitting down nicely, so we're gonna connect this corner first. Slide the cable right into the jack, gently. Take your time doing it. And then you wanna lock it. Same thing here. For the trackpad. Bring it down in 45-degree inside the jack all the way in. Lock it down. The backlight is called BL. Slide it all the way in. Lock it down. Open up the lock for the keyboard. Slide it as much as you can inside the connector. Then lock it down. Grab the audio speaker cable, connect it right in there. There we have it. The flex cable for the LCD. Bring it to the side. You want to slide it right into the port from the back. Once it's evenly slided in there, you want to lock it. Bring the tape over. Bring the Wi-Fi cables right through here. Connector right there. And let's go ahead once for all put this one in here. Slide in the power connector, power jack connector. That should go in straight. Set it down there. The tiny screw we gotta put there. And the Wi-Fi connector, before you put it in, I'm gonna plug in, push down the connectors. They snap in, push down, and put it all the way in there. This one is snapped out. I'm gonna snap it back in. Grab the connector, slide it right over. It will prevent the cables coming out. Put the screw right over it. The M.2, slide it in the connector all the way in. Put the heatsink over. And put the 2 screws for the heatsink. Now we're gonna go back here. We're gonna put this port support and put the 2 screws for the support of the port. And my bed. Right, put the screw for this fan in here. and the screw for this side. Okay, now we're gonna put the tiny screws on the motherboard, the one right over here. We're gonna go all the way to the other side of M.2 and one by the fan beside the Wi-Fi and one right over here. And this flat one, as always, I always forget one screw where it goes. All right, I'll find where this, I'm gonna find out where this screw goes. Next step is to grab the battery, make sure all the connection is in there, bring it down and scoop it right underneath, set it down straight, and put the screws for the battery. Okay, I found out the flathead screw goes right over here. So put this flathead screw right over here. And now we are gonna, once we put the screw in there, now we need to put the back side. Make sure all the tape is in place nicely. There's nothing pinching in there. You wanna grab this cover. You wanna scoop it down. And you wanna bring it towards yourself and you're gonna make a tiny click. That's what you wanna hear. So bring it down and there we go. Once it's clicked down and you want to put the two flat screws right underneath here and the two ones on the top side. Now to power it on, you don't need to put the bottom cover on. You can power it on before. So I'm going to slide down the battery connector all the way inside the jack evenly. And I'm going to grab the bottom cover, double check, make sure everything is plugged in nicely. There's nothing in here. If yours has something, plug it in. Mine didn't come with any. Fan cables all connected. Power jack connected, all connected. Bring down the cover on the back side. Scoop it down right underneath. In 45, bring it down and tighten up the screws and it will pull back the cover to itself. If you see any gap opening, all you want to do is just press it down and it's going to snap into its place. So there we go. On the front and put the 4 other screws right on top. I'll do that in a second. So when you power it on, it might take 5 to 10 seconds and it's going to tell you that the date and time is reset. So I'm going to power on and I see the backlight for the keyboard and I'm going to wait a little bit and it might tell me that my date and time is reset. So you can just continue. Once you get to the Windows, it will just automatically, it's going to go back to its original date. So this is what I'm talking about. Once you power on, it might take a little time. It says continue, date and date is not set. You can go to the BIOS, set it up, or just click continue and do this on the Windows side. And that's it. Again, I hope you guys like this video and helped you guys out. If you have any question or requests, feel free to leave them in a video comment. I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in my next video.